And a great big hey howdy hey to all my goofy goobers out there. Welcome back to Animanic Commentaries with Comic Ozzy.
And DF, Guten Tag, Bonjour, Hi, Salam, Winkapo, Ni Hao, Hello, Talofar. I believe that's all of them.
That's a lot of them anyway.
And there's a reason I used them all.
Because in today's movie, we will be watching Ralph Wrecks the Internet. Otherwise known as Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2. Because, yeah. Well, aside from the internet, I think you did that because of all the princesses, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I made sure to include all the languages. Oh, except for one. Hey, y'all.
Yeehaw. But for real, yeah, a lot of the movie's marketing, or at least a small portion of the movie's marketing, centered around the Disney princesses all being the princesses being in the movie. It's like we get a crossover with all the princesses.
It really is the highlight. And really the main reason to watch it.
I mean, in a sense, it could be seen as a highlight. I'm sure there's plenty of people here, myself included, who would say that it's yet another reason why this film is not stellar. Because it definitely has a bit of reductive commentary on the princesses in general, which I'm obviously not a big fan of. I mean, clearly we've been going through all these movies. I've watched all the princess films up to this point. I've seen all of them, and this film does not properly represent the notions of these characters in the slightest. It really okay. There's some things they get right, but again, they're being very snide about it. But
I like it.
I guess we'll get there when we get there. On the whole, this movie is a follow-up to 2012's Wreck-It Ralph. And as a follow-up to Wreck-It Ralph, it features two of the characters in any prominent role. One of them being Ralph, so obviously that's good. That's good. But largely...
it's more Vanellope's story than Ralph's.
It is. Which, I mean, fair is fair, because, we definitely got, a lot of Ralph in the first movie. He was the central protagonist. He was the one who, really moved the story along. Whereas Vanellope was kind of like a parallel plot, where they both have similar plights, but not anywhere near identical, so they're able to sympathize with each other. This movie kind of puts them at odds, which is definitely a direction to take it. I don't hate the idea of the characters who are best friends being put at odds, but,
You're gonna see a trend with a lot of Disney movies and Pixar films that came around this time, which ended in friends pretty much saying goodbye, whether permanently or temporarily. And I'm like, Disney, are you going through something right now?
It certainly seemed like it. I think all three of the animated films, actually, wait, did Ralph? No, the Tangled film released the following year, right? Yeah.
Huh?
There's Frozen. No, not Tangled. Frozen.
It was that's why. Yeah, Frozen following year, and the following year we also got Toy Story 4, which had the same kind of same kind of theme there.
Well, don't get me started on Toy Story 4, otherwise we're going to be sidetracked.
The point is that Disney was really going through letting go of the old. That change is hard, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, and I definitely like that. That's not a bad angle. That's not a bad message to take away from it.
Yeah, and because I've seen other shows and movies that they're like, oh, but we're friends. We have to stay together forever. And I'm like, that's bullshit, because I've moved several times and I've had to say that goodbye to lots of people. Okay. Mm-hmm. Like, why are you showing this to kids that no, families always got to stick together. Friends always got to stick together. Like when one gets a very good big opportunity that's in another part of the world, and like, no, but I'm going to stay with my friends. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I mean, especially since this is Ralph Rex the internet. It's like you can stay connected to your friends when the internet is central to your story. It kind of has that consequence of like, you know, you can stay in touch, you know? It's like, right?
Okay. Anyway, we should probably get in.
Let's go ahead and get into it because there's going to be much more.
late.
There's going to be much more to talk about as the movie goes on because it's been a while since I've seen it.
You know I'm going to be fangirling when we get to that particular section.
Definitely. And we're going to begin in a 3. Oh, wait, hang on. Everybody needs to have their copy ready, so get set for synchronization. Everybody ready. Synchronization.
I have a feeling we're going to be talking too much during that section to actually get through anything.
Well, as long as everybody's got their copy ready for synchronization, information in the upper corner there. Do right above my head, actually. There. It's up there. Now, we're going to go ahead and begin in 3, 2, 1, go.
So in the era when I started working at the movie theater, so I'd get to see movies like this for free.
Yeah.
And you know, I'd see the posters that we kept in the back.
Yeah.
Gimme.
So I guess while we're over the opening, you can actually talk about how this movie already kind of sets itself off to a start. We had a very charming, like, pixelated opening for the animation logo, but now we just have the classic one. I mean, obviously it doesn't matter, but that kind of, like, doing the 8-bit Mickey was, I think, in a way, like a reference to the Mickey Mouse NES and Sega games. So it was like, they really understood what they were going for, like, originally.
Yeah, I know a lot of people compare this to the Emoji Movie, which came out a couple of years before this.
I'd say,
but...
like... That's not
well compared to the Emoji Movie, though. That bar is already low as it is. It does send its message better.
The Emoji Movie sent its message better.
No. This movie.
Yeah.
I love how she's a burger girl.
This really sets up like where we
if
left
nothing
off.
else, at least you know the voice acting thing. At least that doesn't change. Quality's still great in terms of voice acting. I think I missed this part when I saw it because I was running a little late to the showing.
So yeah, this opening does like help to reestablish us and like where we left behind.
What they do in their off time.
Yeah.
But they're still best friends. Oh, you know they did that because of the Disney Tron thing.
Probably, yeah.
Also, alluding to the whole virus thing.
Yeah.
That'll come later.
And the little guy who popped in was from the opening of the Tron movie. Like the first movie, that was a little bit or bite or whatever it was. And it would say, yes. And
they don't show how they got out of there.
No, that is true. They do just kind of.
I think this is where it ended up coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was late to see the showing, and then I'm just like, and this is when I came in. Wait a minute, 27, but it was 30. It was 30.
Yeah, hang on a second. That's not right.
Come on.
It's not even that hard to remember. It's been... Should have been 37. Or like, wait, no, that's not even. It hasn't even been 7 years since the first Ralph movie by this point. I don't even know what they're going. Yeah, Scribe. That's that's kind of not great. If it was
Love that.
2012, the movie came out in
2018.
2018, so that would have been 6 years. So it'd be 36 years.
No, he said for 27 years I was alone until I met you. So
No,
we're talking
but
about
no, because it was the
everything leading up to
30th.
the events of the movie.
It was 37. It was 30 years. It was the 30th
That's what
anniversary.
I mean. He said 27. It's been 30 years that he was doing his game until he met Vanellope. Hey, Sonic.
Yeah, but he's only had this good life for 6 years since the 30th anniversary.
Yeah. Okay, that is funny.
Hello, Roger. And Disney managed to animate Sonic very well, by the way. Somebody really patted themselves on the back for that joke. Not.
I mean, this guy's already pretty much a stick in the mud, so I'm not expecting him to be good at puns. So yeah, you could tell she's kind of getting in that moment where like, yeah, life is going great, but I've also done everything, and like I feel like I could do something else.
3 in an arcade console? I think there'd be at least 7, right?
Argue. Friends argue.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, even when your friendship is going great, it's like, but then, yeah,
And
you know, he is just so dependent on her friendship that he's so desperate to keep her.
So
oh, she still has the same car.
They're really establishing some things that would be really necessary to understand for this movie specifically, which is not bad, but it's like
Otney. She's not even the one driving. The gamers are. No wonder she got bored.
Yeah. And we've completely disregarded like a big thing in the first movie about like the arcade is open and Ralph is not in his console.
But yeah, but yeah. It's clever for the environment. Also, it's a long way to the finish line.
Got crunched up.
But yeah, you can tell she wants the harder stuff. And well, at least they keep up with thing that a lot of Ralph's actions do have consequences. Right?
Yeah, but I think we tend to forget that the biggest issue in the first movie was that, like,
Yes, I know. I was talking
No one
about how,
treated
yeah,
him
Ralph
well.
making that new track ended up with the game getting broken. I know the fact that he's important to the Fix It Felix game.
Yeah.
Undead Apocalypse. I want to play that game.
It's on Dead Apocalypse 3.
That is pretty subtle. That we just have the that one notices the video game the characters are watching.
Yeah.
No one else
Oof.
noticing Ralph is just in the window. Gen Z, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's actually accurate. They're like, oh, okay. $200 though, not too bad.
But like he said, he doesn't make enough off the game to, like, you know, make the investment worth it.
Ooh.
And he goes straight for the plug, which in this case makes sense because you got a broken controller.
And power. He doesn't know they're all sentient.
No, because there's usually like this whole like put the game out of order sometimes before like shutting it off completely. But you would want to power it off if they don't have a
Oof. Candy corn
There's a lot of
kid.
woof. And the thing is that in the first movie, Ralph made terrible decisions because nobody treated him well. Here,
And now it's because
he
and now
can't.
it's out of love.
I think they just let him, like, I think they just let John C. Reilly go off here. Do like Piglu.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Like at least the voice acting quality does not change.
Yeah, the actors, like, are on point here. It's interesting, like, what they're doing here. Like,
Yeah, and you know, Ralph being super insecure about losing her. Which I don't blame him for after the last movie.
there's something really odd about that, especially since, like, next scene at Tapper's. Thank you, John C. Reilly, for just God.
I'd like to see this whole odd couple dynamic here, but nah. Missed opportunity. And speaking of missed opportunities,
This is actually funny. I do love this idea.
I wish they had shown more of it. There were deleted scenes.
Okay, he did say it's been 6 years since the
Well, damn, the size difference.
It's adorable.
Oh man, dude, I'm not even a parent. I know that's not how it works.
Yeah, you're just asking for disaster. And they got Tetris.
They were deleted scenes about them handling the kids. I wish they had shown it. Although I know people were mad because they wanted Felix and Calhoun to have their own child, and got really upset when they adopted him. Like, they're video game characters. I don't think they reproduce unless they're
No.
like, I don't know. Hmm. Yep. That does kind of go with his character, where he does kind of only think of his own problems. That is such a foamy root beer. Oh my god, I want that root beer.
It looks really nice. I gotta point out that
it is your fault. Come on, you're right. 15 all at once. That's a nightmare.
And then, like, this is really odd. This is hard to talk about because of what's going on. It's hard to talk about because of, like, what's going on here. It's like there's not much coming on.
At least it is a legit reason to get them on the internet, I will say.
How
will you cover? Like, I would believe if they had like the Q*bert people. Like,
now that feels like something Ralph would say and do. That's very funny. With the whole, with like
hey, Dad,
saying
shush.
drinks on me and Felix is paying.
You're right back.
I remember this part in the trailer was animated differently.
Yeah, so sometimes they have that, like from the first movie, when did video games become so violent and scary? They re-recorded the dialogue, the animation's a little different.
Honeybrook. Damn. I mean, they are a couple of former hobos, so.
Bold statement. I love this. I loved this. They walk into the router and they don't, and it's like, it's a good moment. There's a lot of, like, all the trailer bits are pretty good, like, and I guess that makes sense because they show them off in the trailer, so they're supposed to really sell you on the movie. And then, yeah, this is great.
Because he's not really connected yet.
Wi-Fi.
Hey, at least you figured it out.
Well, I mean, he runs video games for a living. It doesn't seem that complicated.
Well, yeah, but Wi-Fi and 1980s arcade machines are totally different ball games.
True.
Really cute the way they
Oh, well,
personify
somebody
the-
doxed Mr. Litwack. Disney just doxed Mr. Litwack. They gave us his IP address and everything. God damn it. Why would you do that? Anyway.
Now with Wi-Fi 1.
Do you love that animation on him doing that? And it's time to run through the optical terminal. It seems like a variation on the...
Sponsors.
It
Hey,
seems-
Fandango.
Yep. It seems
course,
like
of course, the movie theaters.
Yep. And like, it seems like it's a
IMDb, of course, IMDb.
that this melody is a variation on do 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 from the first movie that kind of represented Game Central Station. And it is very
Okay,
interesting.
I need to get
way
the
they-
dog.
All right. I think as far as we have been through this movie, we've only really seen like Ralph and Vanellope's interactions. We haven't seen the idea of like what his relationship is with anyone else, and of course, cats on the internet over there on the far right. Yep. And now coming up is probably the best character in the entire movie, and the loading. Oh no, it's the Wheel of Death. That's another very good Ralph line. And Alan Tudyk, yes. I love how snarky he is.
You know, I get how like nobody stops and talks to him
Yeah.
because you know.
Yep.
Have you mentioned this is Alan Tudyk?
Yes. And I do love his design.
Played Sonic the Hedgehog, not in this movie,
Yeah.
but like a guy who gets very tired of customer service and getting no appreciation.
Yep. Really, only one. Is that supposed to be a reference to Linux, the little penguin over there? That looks like a reference to Linux.
Ugh.
Nobody knows
Really,
Linux.
Slow
And of
down
course we
for
got the
some of these.
filters.
There's Reddit.
Cats on the internet.
YouTube.
YouTube.
Ah,
Hello,
Facebook.
YouTube. Welcome back. Epic fails.
Ugh.
BuzzTube. We'll be coming back
because
to
they
that.
can't use YouTube the whole time.
Well, because of what they're about to
And,
do,
well-
which is...
Well, it's not Twitter anymore. Although X's probably wouldn't be as picturesque.
And everybody's retweeting tartar sauce. Boop-a-doop. All gonna eBay. With its corporatified logo, of course.
Yeah, so where did the most of the movie's budget come from? Sponsors.
Likely. But of course they had to make sure that they and everyone's seen these kinds of pop-outs before.
Hey, wait a minute. That's Aunt Cass.
They probably just ripped her photo from her profile. Because they didn't close the pop-up.
Yeah, but that goes back later.
Mm-hmm.
And they took away the... I feel like it's staring into my soul.
I love that he gently used artificial hip. That's just great.
Friendship shaved like Beyonce.
Hmm. Oof.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Hey! Wow. They're so innocent. And now it's gone past 200.
Yeah. And he's the... Yep.
They missed.
I feel bad because that looks like it's probably one of the kids from the...
It could have been a whole lot less.
But also, it looks like that kid was someone, like a participant of the arcade who was trying to bid on it themselves. Get his allowance. Mm-hmm.
We know where they are.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, this is
Yep.
painful.
This is... Oh boy. Mm-hmm. Now what the hell is Buzzy Bucks, I wonder? I wonder if that'll come back later. Mm-hmm. Oof.
A whole lot less too.
Oof. And... woof.
It's a real YouTuber, right?
Yep. Thank God she was disconnected. We don't need to go over that. This is a point... And this is the point of the movie where we were supposed to have a YouTuber voicing a character coming up, but he's a British YouTuber, so he's only in the UK dubs of this movie.
Pop-up block. They do get creative with some of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. I can totally trust this.
Down they go.
Uh-huh. Oh, I get website.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I love this little freak. Ah, that's great. The animation on that just perfectly weird. And this is a thing that happens in real life, like a items black market for like shit like this. Basically, kind of like a proto Bitcoin in a way, but real money, real world money changes hands. Hmm. Yeah. Yep. And we're also going to completely ignore like the whole consequences of dying outside one's own game, at least in some small respect.
They actually they don't. They address it later.
This game is
Okay,
weird.
that's funny. That's funny.
And off they go
Like they
for
really
their
went all out
spy
with like
mission.
just the absurdity of what is that game? What are those kind of games called? Like the
Let's see. Massive multiplayer online games. And since there's yeah, this is like an MMORPG. The characters. They're stuck.
hello there, 2018 Cartoon Crush. Come on, you have to admit she is gorgeous.
She's pretty, yeah.
And Gal Gadot. No, no, yeah, because he's right. Look, he can't. See,
Yeah.
see. They mention it. That's not the only mention.
Man, it seems like this. I find it interesting how like, and my biggest problem is like that. Hmm.
He's not even have a badge, like a fake badge, even.
He did the whole. Woof. They got it. Off they go.
Oh God. Oh, Abraham like. I feel for that kid, honestly. He has no
Yeah.
idea what's going on.
Woo. I find it very interesting that the way they decide to go about this. But it's like they make up like this MMORPG version of like Grand Theft Auto, and yet we're not entirely
That's the
sure.
name of the game I was looking for. Yeah.
And yet they're okay.
This guy.
That was good. But like
Ooh, your hair.
I don't really
her
understand
hair.
what the objective is.
Oh, her hair. Okay. Please don't be offended, honey, if I'm just getting all steamy over here. Oh, God.
No, it's fine. She's attractive. In a number of different ways. She does have very nice hair. And when you've said things about Disney doing hair in the past. They still know what they're doing, it seems.
Yeah, she does pretty decent voice work too.
Isn't that just what Gal Gadot sounds like, though?
Huh?
Isn't that just what Gal Gadot sounds like, though? I feel like that happens with a lot of celebrity casting, where it's just like, that's just their voice.
Oh, she's definitely more, edgy than Wonder Woman.
Too true. She definitely got, like, the character, the vibes.
She was in the Fast and Furious movies. I don't know. I don't watch racing movies.
That would
a lot.
That would definitely fit.
Like street racing movies, I don't really watch. I mean, I watch Cars. I watch this.
I really am having a hard time talking about this. Off they go.
Oh, now that's a flex. Oh, holy shit. Now you know why I have such a crush on her.
Woo!
Oh, I love how that she has like this very pink street racer.
There you
Like, don't embarrass me in front of the cool girl. God, Ralph.
go.
Okay, you don't Scribe. I see what you mean. Scribe says, I kind of shipped Ralph and Shank before this movie came out. Yeah, not totally opposed. She is so cool. I will say this whole subplot coming up does kind of get a bit.
It's weird. It is very weird, and also
Yes, but it's not that
bullshit.
easy. I've been trying for years.
Is it? Is it really?
Well, they can't use YouTube the whole time.
It's
I think Vanellope's crushing too.
and through the gap. Da 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 da.
So hot. Oh yeah. I mean, it's probably an older sister like wow thing too, but like, hello.
Yep. And
Her
here
hair.
comes the.
Yeah, thank you. Her hair is cool. You're a guy. It's not as cool when you do it. Yes, British vibes. Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? You're right.
This is like.
Okay,
Who
I know
was
in the British
voice?
version, this guy is voiced by. Who is he voiced by? I want to say is it Daka or
Dan TDM.
Dan? Yeah, that. Yeah, it was. Yeah, in the UK version, he's a British YouTuber.
Yep.
Thank you, Dan TDM. Well, I knew it began with a D.
I'm definitely with you there, Ralph. There's absolutely no way they can make like enough money. Also, hello, hello, Dylan.
Screaming goat memes. What was with 2018 and screaming goats?
I don't know.
Because remember, the Grinch came out this year too, and they had that screaming goat. I know you don't like that movie. I'm just to make a point. What was with the screaming goats that year? Yes, I know, Scribe. I did say the UK version.
Yeah. Hmm.
Hell is that line? Al Gore. Oh God. If you guys know who Al Gore is, weird.
Pretty funny.
Do I have time to pee during this whole bit before the important part?
Yeah, you should. I love the way they have her here. She gives off. She's giving off like vibes of like. Oof. As if we weren't already infantilizing Ralph enough. Making it rain. Or. God. Oof. That's still way too much. Yeah, and how long did it take for that video to make $43? This is bullshit. Oof. Literal 15 seconds of fame. That's funny.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, see what it.
They actually changed that. Because I remember watching it in the theater and they actually name dropped Fortnite. Not entirely sure why they changed that. Oh, wait, no, there it was.
Yeah, you just needed to wait 5 seconds. Yeah, we respect a guy who has the balls to put on makeup.
She's got like Hercules vibes. Like she could be a character from Hercules.
Yeah, you're right.
That does
That's
seem
so
like
weird.
something someone would do as a YouTube poop.
Nostalgia, too. Shouldn't you guys be doing work right now?
Right?
And then came Ralph.
And this is the part of the movie that's really interesting to me. Right?
Just a guy dressed up as Ralph.
Ralph does ASMR. And yeah.
Oh, damn.
how this even works. Just absolutely not. I love her costumes. Like, that's another that's great. Woo-woo! You know what this movie doesn't address by this nonsense?
Me.
Multiple tabs. Because what would have been really interesting is if, like, the guy on Instagram had cloned himself and then there was a gray version standing in front of the Instagram page, and then the living one moved to the other one. That would, like, represent, like, multiple tabs, like having a tab open, having a tab closed. Peanut butter and bacon's actually a pretty good combo, not gonna lie.
Well, you know, I don't like bacon, so...
I forgot. For a second.
Yeah, what do you mean what? I don't like bacon.
Ralph?
You do your own game sometimes, don't you, Ralph?
Now, this is what's really odd to me. Right?
Clingy?
There's this odd angle that Ralph is kind of
Clingy
in a not, like, great way.
He's suffering from anxious attachment due to his fear of abandonment. You want me to psychoanalyze this further?
I mean, you could.
Yeah, so we could get to our... yeah.
Ooh, boy.
Let it go! La Casita Inn! Hey! They were foreshadowing Encanto.
And also probably doing a little riff on, like, Harbor Boulevard. Like, this is like, oh, my Disney is Disneyland and it's in Good Neighbor Hotel or something like that.
I love just the little details, like in the ways they wave and such.
And I guess they couldn't get Peter Cullen to come back, so they had Brad Garrett instead.
I mean, Brad Garrett was working on Christopher Robin at the same time, I think.
That's true.
That is so cute.
Yep.
Obviously not the original. She'd be 100 right now.
There's Claire Bell.
Hey, that was Claire Bell.
And there's Ranger Audubon and Humphrey Bear over there.
Oh God!
And actually, they did. Did Cars 3 come out the same year? Because they also did a reference to the Humphrey Hop.
Was that 2018 or was it 2017?
Welcome to Comic-Con, or I guess D23.
2017.
Oof.
I do love how the stormtroopers are pretty much the pop-up. Hey, the small world back there, and look, Winnie the Pooh, and
Hi, Stan.
Too many. And Stanley and yeah, Nick and Grumpy and Hey and not enough time.
It was way too.
The Avengers door. Here we go.
The Airbud Pavilion. Why would there be an Airbud Pavilion? Anyway.
Oh, I love how Merida and
Here it
Mulan
is.
are talking in the background there, and Cinderella picking the leaves out, and the little details. I
She
love
was
how
out
they
for
weaponize
murder.
all the princesses, even the ones who aren't big fighters,
Just put her
like the
fists
Rolling
up.
Pin and the Dingle Hopper. Belle with the book. The way Pocahontas's hair is good,
Just
so windy.
constantly moving. Animals don't talk to Jasmine.
Jodie Benson still sounds the same.
Cheap shot, they had to cut Rapunzel out of that, and Mulan, and Moana, and Merida, and
Because they had
Aurora.
mom. Yeah, because they have moms. And Merida's like, yeah, she is a princess. But this is the same Cinderella from the 2 and 3.
Yeah, they would have. Okay, that was silly.
Oh, and I love, oh God. You know what I want? I want all the dolls available with these princesses in their cozy wear. And I love how Tiana gets to let it out with her naturally curly hair. Like, just everything on their shirts. 3 wishes.
Mhm.
Oh.
She's got a Tamatoa shirt.
Yeah, shiny. Hashtag shiny. And Mulan wearing a sports jacket, and
Mhm.
I know that they had to reanimate Tiana because there were complaints in the trailer.
The heart-shaped donut.
Just lounging in her hair.
Yeah.
And Snow White still got the thing with her hands.
Yeah.
They really added some freckles to some princesses too.
Rapunzel was always supposed to have freckles.
No, I mean like of course Sleeping Beauty is drinking caffeinated soda.
Yeah.
Finish each other's sandwiches. God. Now Pocahontas does
Here's
sound
the
a lot
funny thing,
different.
though.
Yeah.
And the thing is that this is, like, we've been building up to this in a way. Because I can point to every single one of them having water, including Rapunzel when her feet first touch the ground, and then she walks
and
right
it's
into a
something
little
I hadn't
stream.
even noticed until this movie came out. I'm like, oh my God.
And of course. And she's got a can of Sprite. Huh?
We haven't seen on this channel.
Thank you. And yeah, we're
So the fact that well, not just with Merida, but they got the permission for Pixar to use the other characters.
Yeah. Well, it's not even about permission. Disney owns Pixar. They're allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, but it's the first time we've had Pixar characters, I think, in a solely Disney movie. He's from the other studio. I imagine the voice actors from Merida had a lot of fun. Oh, I get to go full Scottish now. Although it's a different phrase from what was in the trailer, which was pretty much
which I could actually
summary of
understand
Brave.
better.
I gave my mom a cake, turned into a bear. My aunt tried to turn her in. If that's not a sign of some big mess, I don't know what is.
Well, they can only give 1 heart each, Ralph. Ah, boy.
Crazy now. Ah, man. This is painful. And this is why I've pretty much disabled my notifications on comments.
Oh, boy.
I can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
1 second.
Anyway, okay, I need. All right, you know what? I'm just gonna think happy thoughts. Think Disney princess dolls and cozy wear. Probably really expensive to buy all together, though.
Jeez, way to
Oh,
go,
God.
Diamond Jimmy.
Oh, damn. And you know that's also appealing to his actual insecurities right now.
Which is not. Which, like, how, though?
What do you mean, how?
Because, like, there's this bumble on a pile of bricks is something that he's described himself as in the movie, so is the...
Yeah, dude, it's a lot different when someone else says that
No,
to
my
you.
point is that in universe, nobody would have, like, said that about him. Because that
Just a
comment is
bad guy
clearly...
who wrecks a building.
You see, that kind of works. But that still kind of infers that the movie takes the...
Yeah, see, because yeah, he's developed an anxious attachment and gone clingy because of his past history of being alone and
Yeah.
isolated. He's afraid of being isolated again.
Which, like, how? Oh, hey, Buzzy.
This is-
find a puddle
This is so
around here.
funny. Will my reflection show? God.
The rise and shine in. Yeah, they really are doing like the Harbor Boulevard thing. It's just really funny.
We will get Alan Menken for the first time in 8 years.
Yep. One might think. The oil puddle.
I mean, you could hear the Alan Menken in there. God. She pretty much carries it in character voice.
Yeah. I love how it just had.
Who did, was it Glenn Slater who did the lyrics here?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Pretty much making fun of their own music.
Yeah.
Ooh, Fog of Mace.
Would have loved it if her eyes were watering after coming out of that, actually.
Remember, this is still a fantasy, so she can be unharmed.
That wolf
And
looks
yeah,
like
just
one of the
reference to
timber
Jaws.
wolves. And then, love this.
Other highlight of this movie. Musical number. Finally!
Ta-da!
You know I have a soft spot for the musicals. An underrated song.
It's pretty well done.
I mean, it's Menken and Slater. Of course it's well done.
But I mean, just overall in the production, though, and that's really well done.
Now feels like a whole new world. So it was just like a year after it as well.
It would have been. I think it would have been in between part 1 and part 2.
I think so.
Damn LA traffic. You know, an animated movie that I like way more than this one, called Hotel Transylvania. I feel like that would have been a better template for this, where Ralph was more like a father to Vanellope.
Even the finishing is definitely Menken-esque.
Yeah, but like I feel like it would have been a lot better if instead of infantilizing Ralph, we actually made him more fatherly. Like, I mean, you've used it well before. Yeah, it's not even the fact that it's an Adam Sandler film. It's that it's just really well done, like from the story department. He's finally noticed this little mute icon. Such a nice little cartoon thing. Hmm.
No, that does not sound right.
Ching.
Okay, they're not dissing older games. It's more like she's just exhausted everything she can from it.
Yeah, you know, like you'll always go back to the older games that you like to play, but you're always gonna like the newer stuff. Thank you, Spamly. You're great. Oof. And again, this... this is like Ralph is taking the simplistic, like, childish approach to
They
things.
really make it look like he's going into hell.
Everybody here is on incognito mode.
Ah.
Or at the very least, they're all anonymous. The thing is, like, again, why isn't Ralph playing the father role? Why isn't he going straight to Slaughter Race to talk to her?
Like big brother and little sister.
Yeah, but I feel like he'd still be much smarter about this.
If I had a nickel for every time Alfred Molina played a guy with multiple heads, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
I love the wordplay here. It's pretty fun.
I look like a literal parasite. There's some psychological genius in that. Like what I've been saying from the beginning, he's insecure. That's
That's
kind of
an
the character
question.
carried over from the other movie.
Good lord. Oof. Again, this is the part where things feel like they're not...
They address that later.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that is something to apply to real life.
Yep. Off you go. And hey, Arthur. Nice
Of course,
to see you.
he comes out of the storm drain. Wonder what developers think when they see random characters popping in the games.
One would wonder how this looks on the outside. Off they go. Nope, it's just a car wash
You
gorilla.
still should have told them at least what you were planning. Uh-oh.
And off we go.
And this is where it hurts, because she's been insecure about her glitch in the past, and now
Yep.
it's actually coming true, that old fear that she destroyed a game. Boy, you dummy.
I guess video games just know how video games work.
I guess that's kind of how it's supposed to be. Oof. Ow.
Ow.
And it just got real for a second.
That was pretty friggin' real.
Actions have consequences, Ralph.
Oof.
Got to communicate more than just. Oof. And you know better about dreams.
Oof. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oof.
It's just painful. I am.
I think this would be an appropriate time to actually utilize a cartoonism. Is if like they actually showed the thing scanned the insecurity, but it said it was at 200% insecurity. And so the virus like copies and pastes, but then it explodes. And that would explain why the virus never came back. Because we never really address. Hang on, everybody listen, there's going to be dial-up in a second here. where's the dial-up noise? I remember hearing it at the theater. Like, it comes down here, and there's just there's a dial-up back there.
I didn't know what you're talking about. Now that's creepy. Ugh.
Woof. Uh. Shit. You know what? Fuck Jeff Bezos. All my homies hate Jeff Bezos.
And ponies.
And here we get to have the nightmare monsters. It's the friend zombies.
Yikes.
Oof. Ow. You had that one coming the whole movie. Sly little grin on him.
He pretty much summed up the whole psychological aspect of this movie.
Pretty much.
Ugh.
I'm glad they did not stretch that out too long. It's just the right amount of time to be amusing.
Just let them there.
Piper want pie.
Ugh. Oh, the animators had a field day with this. Oh God.
Off we go. To the
Yeah. Let's have this
Oh, God.
conversation after we take care of this. Ugh.
fucking ocean.
Of course, like McAfee and all the other
All the other antivirus software.
Oh, fuck.
And now
Okay,
we get to take a page from Gravity Falls.
You gotta give props to the animators for... of course there's pins in Pinterest. Or Pinterest, or what? I always want to say Pinterest and not Pinterest.
Pinterest. It's like peninsula, but with interest.
Now we're in a horror movie.
More like a kaiju.
But the animators had a field day with this one.
I think we're more like in a kaiju film.
No kidding. But the animators saw like the assignment and they're like, what the fuck? You kidding me?
That's one way of putting it.
I mean, because they would have had to animate every individual Ralph there.
No, they'd apply every... They'd be able to apply the Ralphs as a simulation to certain, like, mesh. A Ralph-shaped mesh. A Ralph-shaped mesh.
Correct.
They're animating this very well. I gotta say, for a climax in an animated movie...
A bunch of fists in that fist.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
The animation here is really good.
Game. Oof.
Oh boy.
Now it's King Kong.
Yep. Like I said, kaiju movie.
That's not a kaiju movie. The kaiju is strictly the Japanese section.
Isn't kaiju like the Japanese word for giant monster?
Yeah, but they didn't start that until after King Kong.
I don't think that makes King Kong any less a giant monster, ergo kaiju. Just... The simians aren't allowed? Welcome to Gmail.
I was getting a bunch of emails deleted.
Hopefully it was just spam.
Climb a building, man. Yeah, this has got pretty much the Empire State Building of the internet.
Whew. Off we go.
Tim.
Good lord. Again, you don't own her. I feel like that would have hit a little better if Ralph was acting more like a father, a concerned father. is the virus shit, and it's like,
What you saying? What you saying? There haven't been friends who haven't acted that way.
I'm saying that they've made Ralph inconsequentially stupid, right? Like,
He's not stupid. He's insecure.
well, the thing is that the insecurity is not really an excuse for him being dumb about it.
It's not an excuse. It's an explanation. Break. He hasn't really had a friend before Vanellope. Like he knows what to do in this situation.
I feel like we can't go out of our way to defend Ralph without like fully understanding that what he did was stupid. It doesn't matter if it was out of insecurity.
What he did was stupid, yes. Because he was insecure. You put him through therapy. Oh, and here we are. The next best moment of the movie.
This is
Not
probably
him.
the best joke in the movie.
Yeah, to show just how useless you are, man. And Belle's still reading. Oh, and the music. Just a blend of all the music here.
I mean, you already
Yeah.
had.
And on the magic carpet and
I mean, you already had, like,
and the spinning wheel and the dresses.
you already had Alan Menken here.
Recycled voices. And the Mulan music, yeah.
Yeah.
Making use of all the gowns that they're not wearing. And then the wind.
Send him to.
No, oh, she's wearing the blue corn moon. Oh, and this. And then. Psych.
Mhm.
Pretty. Yeah. He's not even freaked out that a frog just kissed him.
Ha!
What can I say except you're welcome? It is still great that they got as many living Disney Princess VAs as they could.
Yeah.
With the exception of Sleeping Beauties. I'm talking about the living ones, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they said earlier, they brought Paige O'Hara out of retirement.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like now can we get like a Disney Junior show where the Disney princess is just, hanging out? Anyway, I probably talked over that, but yeah. Well, maybe he is a dad. Honey, dads don't always do the same things. So see, yeah, they changed her code so she will be able to regenerate.
You do wonder how, though. They don't really address that. They just say
do like a whole
they
5-minute thing about her getting reprogrammed. We don't need to show everything.
True, but they are just taking advantage of the fact that, well, it's computers, so we can, like, technically do anything we want, because anything is possible in computer world. Like, I mentioned, like how good the cartoon angles are, like how good the comedy is, and how it would have been much funnier if the virus had scanned Ralph at 200% insecurity, but, like,
Oh,
I don't
man.
think you earn the right to
That's a
say that,
terrible joke.
Ralph.
Yeah, it's a terrible joke. Yeah, Scribe, they did explain that. Oh man, this is God, I remember crying when this first happened. Oh, here we go again. Oh no. Oh yeah, here come the tears. And there we are.
Uh,
Now that I think about it, they kind of had a similar concept in Cars 3 as well. Like, yeah, like we're passing the torch, ending an era. Things are changing.
trying to move forward.
Yeah.
Like,
Those other game characters that were gameless. Really wish we saw that.
yeah.
Now that's something that they should have shown. Or if we had like a short, you know?
And
Oh man, Dostoevsky is ooh, that's dense too.
I don't think is Sonic in the arcade because of that one arcade game where Sonic is a cop.
You forgot Sonic was in the last movie, right?
No, I mean like it just addressed to me for a minute just because they actually featured him more prominently instead of just in the background. Foof.
But yeah, like he realized that instead of worrying about losing Vanellope, he should have worked on himself.
That's the thing, though. He was at Badnon at the end of the last movie, indicating like his life was a lot better beyond just spending time with Vanellope.
Yes, but he felt like that happiness was dependent on Vanellope.
I didn't even think that was the case at the end of the first movie. Like that's an oversimplification of things.
You about his response to it. Not everybody thinks like you, hon.
No, that's not my point. That is not my point. I think my biggest point, though, is like in terms of the structure and like the relation of how this works for the character. The end of the first movie, Ralph like made it apparent that everything had turned around. The Icelanders were treating him better
because of Vanellope.
No.
Yes. That, I'm telling you, from his perspective, his life was great because Vanellope became his friend, and he thought without Vanellope, his life wasn't going to be great anymore. He was going to be left alone again. That's his insecurity, honey.
That's how they're framing it in this movie, but it's not how the last movie ended. Like that's
I'm not saying that's how it actually was. That's how he felt.
All right, if I can.
That's called a character flaw.
That's okay. Here's my point, right? Like, here. Let me get this point here.
I know lyrics were by Phil Johnston and Tom McDougall. So not Glendon Slater. My bad.
Huh.
Not Glenn Slater. Yeah.
Okay, so my point is this. If you took the end of Toy Story and then to the beginning of Toy Story 2, it feels like everything like makes sense. It's like there's excitement of Andy going to cowboy camp. Obviously, he's going to take Woody with him, so Woody's trying to find his hat. And it's like everything's like amiable, everything's just like feels normal. Why does the art director look like Markiplier? Anyway.
Well, that did look like Markiplier.
Anyway.
I don't know, because all guys look the same. Oh, yeah, right. Don't forget there's the end credits.
Yes, they got the credit sequence. But it feels like Woody is in the same place he was at the end of the last movie with the same, like, lesson learned. Him being ripped is a completely new problem, a completely new, unrelated problem to the first film. And it creates an entirely different issue that forces Woody to confront emotions and feelings that honestly had never been a consideration for him up until this point. Whereas with Ralph,
wait a minute.
At the front of the movie, they're establishing this, like, real, like, they're establishing, like, this constant spending time with Vanellope after hours that was not portrayed in the end of the first movie. You could make the argument that they were
implied after a 6-year friendship.
You
right?
could have made the argument that the credits leaned on that, but I think the credits also leaned on like everything that we got from the ending, from the epilogue, where we had like him spending time.
Bear in mind, it's 6 years after the movie happened.
That's not even okay. Well, people who hate the Last Jedi in the Star Wars movies are constantly told that same argument from people who like The Last Jedi about how Luke Skywalker, well, it's been so many years, like he's gone through off-screen character regression, it's like, and I think that argument is made better for Luke Skywalker having spent like, I don't know, like 50 years, whereas this has been 6 years. There's not going to be that much different in the course of 6 years.
I really beg to differ, honey.
Oh boy, here we go.
Little baby Moana again. You would tell it's like the same model, just kind of put new clothes on. Okay, if we ever having kids, I'm not giving them tablets.
I can agree with that.
I've seen how stupid it's making kids these days. The baby, this baby's so cute. Oh god, I remember the first time I saw this in the trailer, I'm like, oh my god.
Good lord.
Oh no. Look at how the bunny and kitty are animated too.
The kitten is kind of scared.
I guess this would be an example of what it looks like on the outside. What we were talking about earlier. Oh god.
Good lord.
Okay.
Blue kitten. What a coincidence.
Okay, honey, 6 years can make a whole difference.
Then I feel like it. Okay, but like. But all right.
You want to know how much has happened within the span of 6 years for me alone?
That's fair.
I'm dating you for starters.
They even got Tim Allen up in here for this. They got Anthony Daniels in this. They spent way too much money on this movie on getting voice actors in here alone. Why?
Look, all the princesses. All their little profile pics.
Ha.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Pamela Ribbon. Yeah, not too bad, Snow White. I don't think anyone can ever properly recreate Adriana Castellotti's Sherlock fanfiction at Snow White, because that is such a distinct, unique voice.
Here's the thing.
Hey, School
And
of
this
Wizard
might-
folks.
all right.
It's a Harry Potter reference.
If
Anyway,
if in the 6 years that Ralph had spent, like, how? Okay, 6 years, a lot can change. All right, then in the 6 years that Ralph had a better life, which did include Vanellope, but obviously could not have been solely spending time with Vanellope. Otherwise, these friendship issues would have had the movie take place 3 years after the first, or maybe even 1 year after the first, because that's absolutely ridiculous. But if this is how
okay.
if this is how it happened, right? If it's been 6 years, I feel like there has to have been way more different. What new arcade games are in there? What new arcade games
Did
are
you
in
miss the whole fact that the game got destroyed and the Vanellope is freaking out, and then Ralph wants to make her happy so she doesn't leave? I'm sorry, did you miss that big thing? The big inciting incident there?
And this is where it goes beyond insecurity and stumbles into stupidity. He made the incredibly unwarranted decision to go and mess up her game.
As opposed to him going to Hero's Duty and messing up that game.
That was a consequence of 30 years of emotional, like, abandonment. That was 30 years.
Kind
that
of goes
that was
in, which
30 years.
which he's still not quite gotten over.
I fail to see how 6 years couldn't have seen some improvement.
Honey, just because you did very well in therapy doesn't mean others, go that well in therapy.
Okay, I'm not even talking about this in a therapy angle.
Well, he went to therapy.
He went to Badnon. He went to Al-Anon, basically. But like, here's the thing, right? Where they decided to take Ralph's character didn't feel like they really did just decide. Like, I don't know who it was who thought this was the angle they need to work with, but the first movie went out of its way to show that Ralph was not a bad person, right? Like, he's lonely. He's chronically lonely because of the way everyone treats him. He feels like nobody gives a shit about him. And
I think he's saying that he's acting out of character. He doesn't seem out of character for me.
This was really hard to address this movie because it's like there are some good things here. The animation's great. The voice acting is still stellar. But like, there's something in regards to
Sie ihren Urlaub. Plan your... I lost it.
Ralph still feels off. He feels off. He does feel off. At the end of the first film, he's accepted by... So yeah, see the thing. Ralph's character arc, as is needed in, like, any movie that's gonna attract a family audience, is a very simple one. At the start of the movie, he's lonely, and he feels like everyone treats him, like, badly because he is the bad guy, right? And he feels like that because he's a bad guy, he could never be, like, anything more in their eyes than just a big, scary monster. And so he goes out of his way to prove that by doing, like, making the worst decision possible, by trying to become a good guy in a different game and winning a medal. And then he feels like that'll prove everything, where it kind of goes against, like, sir, if you do this, like, you are fired from your job. And when you're fired from your job in this world, you will basically lose your house and home. And you'll never have another one. You won't. Like, which, again, they did kind of weird with that when they brought in all the characters, but you know, everyone gets a happily ever after. Again, it's a family film. But that's the thing, it resolved. His arc resolved at the end of the first movie. They had a whole epilogue about him going on about how his life and his troubles had been resolved, that everything he everything he thought he wanted was honestly in respect of what he needed. Right? But this movie decides to completely disregard the end of his arc and start him off.
Are you saying that after one movie, everybody's flaws are totally fixed? Forever,
if
for
you
all
don't,
time? They're
like,
never gonna make another mistake ever again?
That's literally the concept of happily ever after. That's literally the concept of having a movie like this end and not have a sequel. When you do a sequel, you have to figure out what else to do. You can't just say,
This is what else to do. That his friendship that supposedly fixed his life is now at risk. But nobody's lives are ever fixed.
all right. How do I phrase this? Okay. The story itself is not the problem at the end of the day. The story itself is not the problem. It's Ralph's behavior in the story that is the problem. His behavior...
Were you expecting him to act perfect?
He's a baby. He's an infant. This literal man-child is acting like that all of his hopes and... Okay, hang on. This was really well done. This right here, just from like a visual standpoint, like they really nailed it. That is... I got the guys from Slaughter Race.
I would see this a lot because I'd be the one cleaning up at this point.
Yeah. Nothing else, Ralph. That's the end of it all. That's the
I wouldn't say he was a toxic friend. He was at risk of being a toxic friend.
Well, he definitely went there. He definitely went there. That's
what Vanellope said. Like, I didn't say I didn't want you to be my friend. I say you were acting like a bad friend. And this is why communication is important. To be fair, Vanessa should have not Vanessa. Vanellope should have communicated as well.
I feel like in terms of the 6 years and things have changed, Vanellope getting bored with her own game was interesting.
It can happen.
Right?
I got bored with Brett at Discord for how long was that? Almost 6 years? Yeah.
It was very, very long. But like, I find that with Ralph, he didn't change, right? That's like, in fact, that in more so becomes the problem, isn't it? Like,
no, I think what they were showing is that, there are two things that can happen when you get everything you want. One, you can grow tired of it. One, you will love it so much that anything that threatens that happily ever after, you're going to respond negatively to. And not embracing any changes that are going to come your way. Because that's not how life works. We don't get stuck in the same happily ever after. Which is why it's really unrealistic to think that really just the story ends with happily ever after. It ends with the story, but it's not the end of the lives of the characters in there.
No, and that is definitely true. But when you don't do a sequel, that's it. You will never follow their adventures again. This is the snapshot of their life that you get. If you do decide to do a sequel, and they did decide to take it in a different direction, not gonna lie, it's not a direction that I think
I will say
handled
there was a plot hole where Ralph's absence is not noticed in the arcade.
That
like you said,
is the biggest issue. Like, what do you mean I'll cover for you?
Like, what are you gonna do? Like maybe if you'd explain, well, we'll just have the Cuberts, which they did show in the previous movie. Like, they'll just
they
be
literally established that, and that
them.
they didn't. They literally established that in the end of the last movie, and they didn't decide to mention it at all.
Or you know what would have been really cool? Because all these Sugar Rush characters are out of work, they could have, there's a lot of little candy people. They could have formed like a Candy Wrecker Ralph, and the kids would have been like, oh, I guess it's like this whole bonus mode now, huh?
And that would have actually given us a reason to snapshot back to the arcade.
Yeah,
and if we could lean on my angle of, instead of Ralph acting like a petulant child who's losing his best friend / favorite toy, because like he definitely doesn't treat like Vanellope like a person at some points in this movie. That's how obnoxiously horrid his behavior is. If they leaned on the idea of Ralph being a concerned father, then he could have been asking Felix and Calhoun for parenting advice, and then none of those deleted scenes would have necessarily been deleted. Like. And I think that's what the scribe might have been getting at when they had the pieces here to do this better. But like, Disney has done insecure characters well in the past. That is true, Ryder.
Yeah, but this is like when you have that. It's like when you have that friend, like maybe a coworker, and you have a lot of fun with, and then the coworker's got this great new dream job and is going somewhere else. So I'm like, well, now my job's just going to be horrible without them. It's like that, and I'm sure everyone's had moments like that. Friend
Perhaps.
moving away, or friend getting a whole nother job in a whole nother country, and you're not going to see them anymore. And you want to feel happy for them, but you also feel terrible because, well, now you're never going to see them anymore. And, we need more lessons like that, because I've been through that whole, yes, we're moving away, I'm not going to see these friends again. And yeah, pretty much fallen out of touch with most of them. Actually, like 99%. Yeah. And that's just life. Life happens. You're not gonna have you're not gonna have the same best friends forever.
Well, that's obviously true. And that part of the movie is like fine. But they don't even do that. Like they're still friends. They still spend time with each other. They still call on the regular. So it's like, again, the internet.
It's still a big change.
Yeah, it is a big change. And I feel like they did not do Ralph's character well. I feel like they did not.
To me, he feels exactly the same way he was in the first movie, but just with the added, the added on. Now he is friends with Vanellope. He is happy, and he's trying to keep that happiness with and not really thinking about his actions, just like in the first movie.
Okay, but yeah, you said exactly the problem is that he feels the same as in the first movie, which goes all the way back to when he was miserable. Right? Like, that means that they didn't show growth on this character. And obviously, who would want to show off-screen growth for a character, right? And it also confuses the lesson, because when your friend does something... Here's the thing. Based on Ralph's actions in this movie, right? And like, if we were treating these characters like real people just for a minute, just to really figure out, like, why this movie pisses people off, is that if your friend did something like Ralph did, that would be a person you cut out of your life. Ralph and Vanellope would not be friends again. It would be a sad ending. Ralph made really bad decisions. Ralph made such bad decisions. Like, he literally sent a virus to destroy the game. And again, like Alfred Molina said, are you stupid? Because, like, that's just...
I think it's safe to say, although I disagree with you on a lot of points here, that Frozen 2 kind of goes with a similar theme here of things changing and, well, letting go and then but I think it maybe does it a little better.
But no one likes the things the same over and over and over again. Yeah, I can just be, yeah, I can say that in regards to Ralph too. There's absolutely no way Ralph would like things to be the same, because things were the same for 30 years, and it was miserable. Things were the same
for 30 years where he was getting abused.
Abused, miserable, nobody gave a shit about him. All the Icelanders didn't treat him nice, and Felix never addressed it. He was an enabler. He never addressed anything. He just bystander, didn't do anything.
No, Frozen 2 is not going to be this film all over again. Me, personally, I like Frozen 2 better than Frozen 1.
I think Frozen 2 actually handles this exact same thing a lot better, because unlike the end of Wreck-It Ralph, things like when you start Frozen 2, and Elsa just having a quiet moment, then accidentally freezing her hands to the handrail, it's like, huh, I guess things weren't necessarily resolved at the end of the first film. Whereas with Ralph, he had a whole epilogue. He went on and on and on about how everything in his life is so much better now. So why is it that Vanellope leaving causes such a shit fit? Why couldn't we have spent some time with Ralph hanging out with Felix? Aren't they friends now, for fuck's sake? What about poker night? He finally
I also really would have liked to see Felix and Calhoun being parents. There were deleted scenes about that, apparently.
And also, just in general, Ralph has other friends.
Yes, but he's developed the codependency with Vanellope over these 6 years.
Which is very unhealthy and creepy for a 30-year-old man to be doing with a little girl.
Who is technically, well, let's see. The game came in the 90s. Technically, she's almost 30 at this point.
If I may be so bold as to point out, this is yet another reason why the Ralph as a father figure thing would have been a much better angle.
Enough with the father figure thing. They're not a father-daughter thing. They're like big brother and sister.
Okay, well, if they played it up a lot more like Lilo and Stitch, then maybe Ralph wouldn't have been so dumb as to throw a virus into a video game just because he wants Vanellope to come back home with him. Like, yeah.
I think maybe somebody did some fanfic speculating before this movie came out.
Me?
Yep. Sounding like it.
Nope. In fact, when I first saw this movie, I took it at face value and thought, what a fun movie. And after the fact, I realized, the internet stuff would have been a lot more fun if they actually made more specifically dated references, because then the movie would have been a really wacky time capsule. But beyond that, wait, Ralph is behaving like a fucking, spoiled brat.
Dated references. I'm pretty sure maybe in about 30 years this will be dated.
I think it's already dated. But, I feel like they could have done more. It's Ralph breaks the internet, not Ralph ruins every single relationship he ever had. So, which apparently is only one relationship.
The internet on top of that.
Okay. I mean, I could be here for a fucking century. I guess to talk about Shank, Shank.
Thank you, writer. Thank you, writer. Oh yeah, Shank is awesome. You can't change my mind about that ever.
No. Though again,
okay.
It does.
We agree on that.
Again, it does feel like that Shank comes across as a voice of reason because they made Ralph not. Because when Ralph was like, they're celebrating the 30th anniversary of this game without me, and he's so indignant at it, he's right. It is incredibly unreasonable for them to think that they could celebrate the party without Ralph. They leave him out of everything. And I get it, there's probably a 10th anniversary, 15th anniversary, but it's the final straw right now. He's absolutely done, had it. I feel like Ralph was reasonable and mature in the first movie. I feel like he was actually an adult. But in this movie, he feels he feels like a teenager, and that's being generous. He feels more like a 12-year-old. They decided.
I don't believe what you say that isn't how he was in the first movie. So the guy made pretty rash decisions.
Yes, but they were also rash decisions that I could see, like, an out of touch adult making, because he's old hobo. He's saying things. He and Felix are saying things that are like old timey and weird. And so he comes across as like an old man, like an old out of touch grandpa man kind of guy. You know, he's fucking 30. His grandpa's probably a little bit of a stretch. But my point being that he's old timey. He's an old timer. So it feels like he's out of touch with the youths, as it were. So his decisions feel like they're being made from that kind of a perspective. Whereas now he's just kind of like a fucking toddler. Like, it feels like they decided to committee test this sequel to a bunch of kids, and so they had to have Ralph act like a kid so that the kids understood, which is not right. Ralph should feel like he has a mortgage, but in this movie he just feels like he has like a toy box and he doesn't want to share. I don't know. That's what I think.
You know that meme when like they're the same picture? I'm the one saying they're the same picture. Because what you just described was literally the same thing.
You're telling me that an old out of touch grandpa and a 12-year-old with toy, like a man with a mortgage?
Yes, exactly.
How?
Okay, do you talk with old out of touch grandpas/grandmas?
Well, no.
Well then, yeah, you haven't talked to my grandma enough.
I suppose not.
You really don't. They are like toddlers. They are like toddlers.
Well then, and the thing is that we had the same director on this movie. So, like, as on the previous film. So, if there is one thing I can say, is that if this is so as such by the director's own admission, by making this sequel, that this is how Ralph is, then I don't like Ralph as a character. Like, the thing is, in the first movie, they didn't delve into his... Like, or, well, they did address his insecurities, but they didn't, like, deep dive into them. But now they got an opportunity to deep dive on them. Maybe we should have stayed in the shallow end of the pool, because this just makes Ralph look like a real, like, fucking, I don't know. Like, okay, you go.
Okay, the thing is, I get your opinion on it, but I'm also getting that I feel like that's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Elaborate.
I don't have to elaborate. You already elaborated for me.
So everything I said, but it's good actually, right? Like,
but that's exactly what it's supposed to be. Yes.
Like, that Ralph. I
well,
don't understand that, because
here's
that
the thing with all the flaws the characters make, I can accept them because I'm like, oh yes, because that is exactly what the intention was.
From what perspective? From the character's perspective, or from the writer's perspective?
From the character's perspective, psychologically, it all made sense.
It doesn't feel like the character's decisions, because this Ralph is not the same Ralph from the first movie. He's making decisions that the first movie's Ralph would not have made. Ralph.
Yeah, okay. I also end up making the same mistakes that I made 20 years ago after I thought I made progress. Because that's how human beings are.
But that's the thing. Ralph didn't make the same mistakes in this movie he made in the last movie. He made completely different mistakes that Ralph would not have made. These are not...
let's see. He made completely rash decisions, which he thought was a good thing, but ended up harming other people. And also he released a virus on a game. Wait a minute.
He did not do that. The Cybug, he did not bring the Cybug to... He did not bring the Cybug to Sugar Rush.
He did something thinking it was to help Vanellope. and ended up hurting her instead. Okay, you see why it's making it hard to believe that this isn't something Ralph would do?
Okay, like, no, that's the thing though. That
middle
is
ground
that
on
is
this, it seems.
that is exactly the reason why this is a decision Ralph wouldn't have made. He would not have infected the game with a virus to make it bad, because he's just like that's not what he. Destroying the cart was his decision, but it wasn't his choice. Because King Candy, what he told him, and then what Vanellope's actions made him perceive that he had no choice but to do what he did. And so he decided to do what he did, right? He felt like he had no choice, but it was still his decision at the end of the day, right? He chose a decision, but like he felt like he didn't have a choice at all but to do that.
Honey, I hate to tell you this, but choose and decision are synonyms.
That's the thing, like...
Okay, even Scribe is talking like Ralph could have chosen not to destroy the car.
But like...
They're the same word, honey!
Would that have stopped... Anyway, all right. I'm obviously trying to be a little artsy, a little pretentious here, using vocabulary in a clever way.
That is literally...
Anyway.
The vocabulary, that's literally the same word. Okay, I can tell we are not going to find a middle ground on this.
I don't think so. But like, yeah,
I don't think so. It's like with you and me and SpongeBob. We're never gonna find a middle ground. We're just gonna agree to disagree.
I don't even discuss SpongeBob with you because like, I mean, if I want to talk good cartoon comedy with you, I'd just bring up.
Okay, but final thoughts. He and I can never watch this movie in whole together again.
Nope, and it's probably better off that way because this movie sucks.
I mean, at most, we're probably just gonna rewatch the Disney Princess thing just to look at all the Easter eggs again.
I think as far as this movie, solid 3 out of 10. Oh, Bella, that's too mean. I mean, the animation's good.
I like it.
I feel like some of the jokes. The Disney Princess segment is like not as reductive or like bad faith media criticism as it could be.
I agree more with Scribe's rating, 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10 is probably better. Like, I mean, I could go on in like a full dissertation on how they didn't really like, how does Disney not understand their own intellectual property when they made comments in the Disney Princess segment that's like, did you watch your own movies?
Yes, they did watch their own movies. If you look at the way they animate, look at every little detail, yes.
Oh, sure, they animate and look at them, but in terms like, Belle was not enslaved or kidnapped.
Freaking joke, honey.
I feel like it's still one of those things plus, that those...
Okay, plus enslaved really hits harder with it.
Actually, was Ariel the other one who said that?
No, it was Rapunzel and Belle.
Okay, yeah, because Ariel got herself enslaved to Ursula. She would have been the one to say that.
No, she was the one with the whole trade your voices see which for a pair of human legs. No, good lord, who would do that? It's like, okay, to be fair, if that now speaking of drastic decisions.
That is again that okay. Here's the thing. All right. So Ralph only made the decision to jump games and do the stupid shit he did because of the big blow up. It was the emotional response that he had in that moment and the shouting match he got in with Jean that then led him to make those decisions when he went off to go find a medal. But in this movie, it's like
I feel like Ralph acts before he thinks, which again is a consistent character trait of his.
Yes, acting before thinking is one thing, but like it's like he didn't even he doesn't think things through. That's true. And that much I do agree with, like the depiction of his characters. Like they did do things where he did stupid things because he doesn't think things through. Like when they were playing eBay, like it was a fucking like it was fucking like number cruncher or something, like cookie clicker. Let's just get that number higher and higher and higher. But like but Ralph leaving. If there was one thing, the consequence of this movie, right? So the consequence of the first movie was that they kept leaving him out, and even Gene went so far as to say, "It's like, you're just a bad guy," and then he smashes the cake, and Gene's like, "That proves my point." And that's when Ralph is like, "You know what? I'm gonna win a medal," and Gene's like, "Oh, he can't possibly be serious." And it's like, he would never do that. He's just a dumb gorilla, you know? It's like, that's kind of how Gene's looking at him. And then, but Ralph is an emotional person. So it's like, he cares. And it's like, if the only way they're going to respect me and like actually treat me like more than just a pile of garbage, living in a pile of garbage, then I gotta prove to them I'm worthy, you know, as it were. But where in the second movie, the consequence that leads to this is something he did. See, in the first movie, nothing he ever did was the reason he went and did what he did. The reason he did what he did was because everybody else treated him poorly. Whereas in this movie, he goes off and makes Vanellope a bonus track in broad daylight, leaving his game. He's
trying to be her hero.
Leaving his game. If he had done that shit after hours at the arcade, how needy are you that you don't? 6 years. And this is the first time he decides to, like, play hooky at work? For a stupid reason. It's the conceit, the plot, what Ralph does when the arcade is open. It's not so much what he does, it's when he does it. And Ralph would not do that. Ralph's life is better because he spends time with Vanellope after work. The impetus of this movie, the start, the inciting incident, that right there is the reason this whole movie fails, because Ralph would never do that, so this movie wouldn't have happened. Or at the very least,
you okay, hon?
It wouldn't. No, I'm not. I'm not okay. This movie is stupid.
I'm starting to wonder what happened in your life now.
Here's an example. I read a Toy Story 2. So when Woody's arm gets torn, the inciting incident of the movie, that was not Woody's fault. But Woody still has to deal with the consequences of it. When Ralph in the first movie is like going off on an emotional, it's like roller coaster that he doesn't think it through, but he's gonna get a medal somehow. He doesn't even know how he's gonna do it at first. It's because Gene was basically got in a shouting match with him at the party.
Okay, honey, you're kind of going back to you're kind of going back to your previous points.
I know.
So okay.
When I get,
I'm just worried. I just think you're being caught in a loop here.
I guess my point is that. All right. Ralph 1 and Toy Story 1, someone else does something in order to upset the character's life and force them to do something.
Okay, guys.
In Ralph 1, someone else does something to upset the character and change the course of their life and their story. But in the second movie, it's something Ralph did. And that being the primary difference, that Ralph made the bad decision without an inciting incident, without somebody else inserting somewhere. It's like,
be fine. This is healthy couple fights.
It's just a movie. I'm just concerned in this because it's like, this is not good. This is not good characterization. This is not good, consistent characterization for Ralph. It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, from a character standpoint, and thus by proxy from a writing standpoint, this is just not. And the fact is, if I can see the hand of the writer and it's like, this is not how Ralph would behave, who is this? Then it's like the thing is, like, if you're watching a character make bad decisions, you should be upset with the character, not the writer. You shouldn't even know the writer's there. And that's why it feels like this movie was committee tested, and like they didn't think about what would be best for the characters and what would be best for their story.
Yeah.
They thought what would make the kids laugh, what would teach them a good lesson. And
you know,
yeah.
I have a better example of very bad characterization, which you will see in the show we are watching.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get there. But that was Kamikaze goes on a rant, and we're not even at Wish yet. Spoilers, but that's gonna be an interesting evening.
Oh boy, that's gonna be very hard. That's gonna be very hard for me to get through because I'm gonna have to hear this.
Oh god. Oh boy, I'm gonna try to not repeat the same things that I've said with my friends or with you privately.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try
Fortunately
to.
Fortunately for the next movie, there's only one problem I have with it, and that's really from a cultural standpoint.
And in all other stances, I think in terms of like taking a character and regressing them for half a second, I think Frozen 2 does it a lot better. But that'll be for next week. Thank you all so much for joining us on this sordid adventure. Really arduous journey. And if you're viewing this after the fact, I'm so sorry. Thank you for watching.
We are fine, by the way.
We're fine. But I'm sorry you had to watch this movie. And if you're viewing this after the fact again, I'm so sorry.
I had fun. I had fun. Even in the fights, I had fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. And until next time, remember to take care, stay safe, and be kind in all that you do. Good night, everybody. The arcade's closed. Whee!